I remember the text like it was etched into my skull. We need to talk. Tonight. Alone. It was from her, my wife, but the tone was all wrong. There was no warmth, no playful tease, no familiar closeness. Just a cold command that made my stomach drop. I stared at my phone for a long time, the hum of the ceiling fan above me suddenly deafening. My first thought was denial. Maybe it was about bills or her work, something trivial. But the gnawing in my chest told me otherwise. Over the past few months things had been off. Subtle at first. The way she'd let her phone slip out of sight when I walked into the room. The sudden late-night work calls that ended when I came near. Little excuses, a laugh too quick. A smile that didn't reach her eyes. And me? I tried to rationalize it, blame myself. Was I imagining it? Was I being paranoid? The night I got that text, I sat in the living room, pretending to watch the muted TV, all the while scrolling through old photos on my phone. There we were months ago, laughing at some inside joke, holding hands in a park, her head on my shoulder. My chest tightened with a mixture of nostalgia and a growing sense of dread. How had it become so quiet between us, so fragile? Then came the knock. Not a polite knock, sharp, almost aggressive. I opened the door and he was there. The new man, as I had heard whispers from mutual friends, though I hadn't met him before. He stood tall, arms crossed, jaw set, a smugness that made my skin crawl. "So you're the husband?" he asked, voice low, meant to intimidate. "I've heard about you." I felt my own heartbeat rise, not from fear, but from something darker. Anger. Defiance. For a split second I almost smiled. "And you are," I said evenly, masking everything. He took a step closer. "Look, I don't want problems. But let's be clear. I don't like people standing in my way. Especially not someone who thinks he still has a claim here." I laughed softly. Not out of humor but disbelief. "Claim," I repeated, my voice steady despite the fury building inside me. "You think this is about claims? About power? You don't know a thing about me." And that's when it hit me, the clarity I'd been avoiding. He had no idea the life I'd lived, the strength I carried. The nights I stayed silent to protect my family. The challenges I'd faced alone. The battles I'd fought quietly, while pretending everything was fine. He saw me as weak. He saw me as someone who could be intimidated. He couldn't have been more wrong. The confrontation didn't explode into violence. It didn't need to. I simply stepped closer, letting my presence fill the room. "You should know this," I said, voice low, deliberate. "I've faced things you can't imagine. I've survived things that would have broken most men. And no one will make me feel small. Not you. Not her. Not anyone." He stared for a moment, eyes narrowing, and then finally turned and left, slamming the door behind him. The sound echoed like a gunshot, but instead of fear I felt liberation. Later, when she finally came home, there were questions I couldn't stop asking. Why? How? Who? Her answers were messy, full of excuses, guilt, and fleeting justifications. But I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I just listened, each word stabbing like ice and fire at once. The betrayal was there, yes, but so was my recognition that I could no longer live in denial. I walked through our home afterward, touching the edges of memories, the sofa where we first laughed, the kitchen counter where we argued about trivial things that now seemed sacred. Everything felt tainted, yet also strangely honest. The illusion had been stripped away. We didn't fight. We didn't scream. We simply accepted that some things couldn't be repaired. Not the trust, not the intimacy, not the quiet understanding that once defined us. She left eventually, her apologies hanging in the air like smoke. I stayed alone but not broken. I spent that night on the balcony, staring at the city lights, feeling the cool breeze against my face. For the first time in months I breathed freely. Betrayal had a taste, bitter, sharp, but it also carried clarity. I realized something profound. Strength isn't about fighting others. It's about standing tall when your world shifts. About owning your worth even when someone else tries to redefine it. I'll never forget her or the life we had. But I also won't forget myself. He thought he could intimidate me. She thought she could replace me. And maybe for a moment I felt small. But in the quiet, in the reflection, I knew the truth. The person they underestimated was still standing. Still whole. Still me. And that's the story I carry forward. Not as a man defeated, but as one reborn from the ashes of betrayal, stronger, clearer, and unshakable.